Hey all, Michael here. I know most of the groups are doing gospel fluency stuff, and that's fantastic, but I did just want to give a little bit of a summary or preface of what happened this past week for those that weren't there, and if people have questions or whatever, to highlight the kind of high points of what went down on our Global Go Sunday. And so Sunday, we just hit on some kind of big idea of what global missions is aiming at, and then kind of unfolded a few opportunities that we're partnering with and connecting with. And so the main idea was the ultimate future for all of God's children. Excuse me. The ultimate future for all of God's children is living face to face with God and celebrating Him with all of His people from everywhere and every when forever. And so we looked at, just real quickly, we looked at Revelation 7, 9 through 12, and just looked at this picture of what the future kingdom looks like, and those that we can't even number, from every tribe and tongue and nation and from all the ages coming together. And we just looked at three questions, like who's there, and who is there? It is God's redeemed and all who trust Christ alone, for salvation alone and peace with God. We looked at where is there, and so specifically that scene happens in Revelation 7, not here on earth in the sense that we see it now, and so it's before the throne of God. It says several times in those few verses, and so we see that although sin has its way here on this earth in this time, we don't yet live in that future reality that time is marching towards, and that the mission is marching towards. And then we looked thirdly at what are they doing, and so we see those from everywhere and every when, all of God's redeemed before the throne of God, along with the angels and heavenly host. We see them worshiping God, and we see them singing, and we see them kind of decreeing and crying out just the glory of God. And just what a beautiful picture to see God's family, the diversity of His family, set before us, and to know that we get to play a part in the mission to get there. And so that's the idea that we aimed at. Just again, in short, that we get to be then redeemed missionaries here now as a local church in our city, in our neighborhoods, on our streets, and in groups, and all those things. But then, man, we get to boldly proclaim the gospel to the ends of the earth, and we get to do that as a church. We want to kind of set our sights on Guatemala City, and so there are a few partnership opportunities that we have. And the first one is Casa de Libertad Los Chilitos, and so that's a tiny rural village. I know you've heard us talk a lot about that, but significantly, Mitch and Amanda Munoz are missionaries there, and they've been there for 6+ years, raising up local leaders. So much encouragement around that, and we've been able to come alongside them already a little bit, and we look forward to ways that we can continue to learn from and invest in them. Namely, we're gonna go there at the end of March-ish. We're kind of nailing down some stuff, and we invite you to be a part of that. And so, and then the second thing was we heard from Chow Knox of Lemonade International. Lemonade International, the short of it is they help a lot. They help fund the groundwork that's going on in an urban slum called La Limonada, and it's 60,000+ people in roughly less than a square mile, in a ravine that kind of goes through the city, and it's just a trash dump, and so you have houses on top of houses and concrete, and not houses probably like you're thinking, but pretty intense environment. And so what we're doing moving forward, as we kind of spotlighted those two things, is we want to go be on the ground serving alongside those in Los Chilitos in the village, and there's a ton of ways that we want to get involved in that, and we can't wait to share those with you. As it relates to La Limonada and the work of Lemonade International, we want to support what's already going on there through funding that mission. And and by God's grace, we had really low expectations of what the opportunity of sponsorship was presented to us this week in sponsoring children and sponsoring teachers and staff and some other things. And Matt and I were like, gosh, I hope just, man, if we can just get this one woman sponsored or maybe a kid or two. But I think the numbers came in today, and I think we have 8 sponsorships that came from yesterday. And so that is awesome, something that we get to celebrate as a church and something that you guys get to celebrate in groups. And so hopefully that's helpful of kind of what the day was like on Sunday. And the next step, the biggest next step is on June 9th, we're going to have a Global Go huddle. And so we get to kind of unpack a little bit what we're doing moving forward. And so the idea of what's next is we want you to give. We want you to support. And by God's grace, we want some of you to go. So some of that's financial, some of that is support, administrative, prayer, lots of ways that we can bridge relationships between us here at the Village and those in Guatemala, and then vice versa, those in Guatemala and us here at the Village. And we want to celebrate and spotlight and highlight that kind of two-way street. And so we want your help to do that through support. And then we want, as I said, some of you to go. So give, support, go. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for all that you do. And I'm praying that God would be in, among, stirring us and your people this week as you gather together in His name. Grace and peace.